Welcome everybody to round 7 of the PCDC Motorsport ACC League. Your director and commentary today will be done by me, Senna Stuffmail, and Florian Denzler, aka Walter Koster.
Hello everybody.
Alright, so today we're at Barcelona. Let's take a look at our track. So we are at the circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. It's in Catalonia in Spain. Track has 16 turns, is about 4.655 kilometers long or 2.892 miles long. The race format for today will be a 60-minute warm-up, which is coming to a close. There's about 4 minutes or so left, and then we'll have 15 minutes of qualifying, and then we'll have a 60-minute sprint race. The race will also have one mandatory pit stop, with a tire change. Fuel is optional. So before we go to quali, we can take a quick look at the standings. So as we can see here, we have Marcus Lawrence, who's still in the lead by quite a bit of a margin. He's then closely followed by Vincent Erbrich. In second place with 78 points. Then we have Arensman in third with 74 points. Then we have Denesi, then Layson in fifth, Taylor in sixth, Awa in seventh with 41 points, Nergesh in eighth, Benzel in ninth, Persson in 10th, then Valkenburg, then Wansink, then De Jong, then Daniels, and then Van den Hudding in 15th. Then we have Renikari in 16th, Stuffer in 17th, Tuck in 18th, Peter Parnell in 19th, Levens Martins in 20th, 21st Harby, then Friedrich, then Springer, then Hurst, then Elms in 25th. Then we have Howard, after him we have Errol, then Ford, and then Fretwell, and then to close out the championship standings we have Short with 9 points. So I don't know what you think about this, Florian, but it's looking like Lawrence could potentially pick up the championship here today if nothing goes wrong for him.
He could definitely do it, but he obviously has some good opponents. Lawrence, if he can manage to finish in the top 2 positions, he will have the championship secured. If he only finishes third, it could be close, depending on where Vincent Erbrich and Arnsman will finish the race. So he still has a bit of a job to do in this and the next race, so it's not over yet. No time to relax.
Yeah, for sure. And we can also take a look at basically from 4th down to, well, 8th, 9th position even. That's all still up for grabs, so one good performance on any driver there can make him jump up quite a bit of positions. Further down the grid as well, I mean, if you look from 16 downwards, that is all insanely close together. So if any of them picks up any good points, that's a straight jump up into the top half of the standings. We can also take a quick look at the team standings. So we have Sven Racing in first, which is, I believe, Marcus Lawrence and Benzel with 116 points. They're also looking to secure their championship, their team championship. AOSP in second. Then we have Mist Apex. Then Spinala Motorsports, so second to fourth. That's still all to play for in the team standings. Then fifth we have Benny the Bentley. Then we have Lexus Race, then H7K Racing, then ARC Motorsports. After that we have Team Lord Have Mercy. Then we have Priory Racing. After that we have Pineapple Racing. Then Cruising Waffle Racing. Then the Mad Macalads Racing team, and then Versluis Racing. And with that all being said, we are almost ready here to head into qualifying. I think the drivers are about to get out of the pits, so we will switch over to that. Here we go.
Just to mention is that team standings are not 100% updated yet since the last race, so it looks like Spinada Motorsports is actually already in P3 and is past Missed Apex, so, but only by about 7 points, so they can definitely fight back with Barney Wilton and Thomas Arnsman, who's probably expecting a good finish from himself, so still a good fight for the podium, also in the team championship.
For sure. So we have most of our runners are out on track. We'll I like the paint job here of Rabi Hawa, so I think we'll just stay on board with him here for the first lap, and we'll see how everyone starts lining up. We also had a returning driver today, which is Vincent Erbrich, which will be interesting to see because he's known to nearly always be at the top of our league, so we'll see how he can do or perform today, rather.
Yeah, he had a stunning performance at the beginning of the season with, I think, 3 wins in the first 3 races. He probably didn't have that much practice for this race, but he's still a threat for the win today.
Yeah, definitely. Looking at practice as well, it looked quite decent for him as he jumped Marcus Lawrence by about 200s, I believe. So he's definitely looking fast again. But we know he is. So
yeah, but other than the top 3, who are obviously really close together, we also have like a really tight midfield that is stretching from like P4 down to P15, around that, with some other people that can always make a good time, especially qualifying, and try to gain them a few spots to have a better starting position for the race.
yeah, exactly. There is definitely a lot to play for in the midfield. Yeah, like we showed before in the championship standing, some drivers are only, I mean, from some positions, from like 5th to 15th, I think, is all still pretty close together within like 20 or so points. So, you know, if you have 2 really good results, you can jump up from 15th, for instance, to all the way up to 5th. So yeah, I think the midfield is really where all the big battles are gonna happen.
And we also give out points to the top 15, and then also 1 participation point for everyone that finishes the race. So even somewhere around the midfield of this field is still worth to fight for positions. And like you said, like if you just gain a few more points than some others, you can jump up quite a few spots relatively easily.
Yeah, so we are looking here at Hava as he's into the last sector of his first qualifying lap. We'll see what kind of pace he puts down. So we've already had Domi Person come across the line, as does Ford. We'll take a look here what Hawa manages to do.
Apparently my voice is a bit too quiet.
Too quiet. Let me turn that up then.
And we have Marcus Lawrence already setting a very respectable lap time by a 1:43.5. 1.5 seconds clear of Ford in P2 at the moment. But obviously that's only just the first few laps. People are maybe haven't really practiced much on quali fuel yet, so they just need to find out what the grip levels are on the track and how the car behaves in these conditions. Yeah, at the moment we have a really high track temperature with about 40 degrees Celsius, so I expect people to struggle maybe a bit with overheating tires even in qualifying.
Be sure in the chat to let us know if the volume of the co-commentator is better now, of Florian. Sure, let us know. So on board with Marcus Lawrence now. Surprisingly, Vincent Erbrich only managed to put in a qualifying lap about 6/10 behind Lawrence. So that's interesting to see, but obviously we don't know how much practice Erbrich has come into this race. But Sure enough, I know Vincent usually pulls out some insane qualifying lap right at the end of the session, so we'll have to wait for that, I'm sure.
And he wants to keep the viewers excited.
Yeah,
For
exactly.
the 15 minutes that we have available. We also see 4 different manufacturers in the top 4 positions, so looks like the BOP is relatively well done for this track. Even though the gap is a bit larger, but obviously that was always the case throughout this season. But maybe we'll see some other contenders that could maybe get a surprise podium. It's gonna be hard, but not impossible. Well, some people are already in the gravel.
1 second, I think it should be better now for the co-commentator, because I still had the volume turned down from when we were doing the standings, so I think people should hear you better now.
I hope so. Yeah, Winston Elbrich is getting really close to Marcus Lawrence, but not close enough. Still about 3 or 4 hundredths of a second behind Lawrence. Sure, he wants to improve his lap time again.
Yeah.
But not this lap.
I mean, I think it's by now that we come to expect it from these two guys. There never seems to be much more than a couple hundreds or even thousands between them in qualifying, so this looks to be a close one again. But, you know, it would be interesting to see Lawrence grab pole here over Vincent, because I think Vincent most of the times has taken pole, even if just by the smallest margin.
Yeah, we also haven't seen really good competitive lap time from Arnsman yet. He's at the moment in P12 with a 45.8, but I guess we can expect maybe a better lap time from him, considering that Vincent Elbrich is also in an Aston Martin and is about over 2 seconds quicker, so there is still some potential in there. And looks like Arnsman is improving in this lap as well. It's already 7 times up, but he has a bit of traffic.
Yeah, we also see someone that's finishing up his lap now in Sector 3, Balit Nergesh. So a couple tenths up, about half a second now, and as he comes around the last corner, we'll see if he can improve. Ooh, he loses out a lot there in the last corner, which actually won't make him improve his time. Or only by a little bit, I think 100th I saw it shoot up there, so yeah, shame for Balin, because he was about half a second up there, which would have made him jump up to P9 possibly.
One person who can improve by a few laps now in the front is Joshua Layson, which is just in the last chicane. And if he can manage to finish this lap, he could challenge Witt in P3.
Arnsman jumps up into 3rd, Layson into 4th.
He manages to get past Witt, but the Arnsman with a really good competitive lap time now.
Yep. So whoever's exiting the pit now will probably get 2 more laps in. So we'll see what the drivers will do here. In the meanwhile, we do see, so in 5th we've had Whip lining up, and then Alan Hudding. Ford in 7th, which I think is pretty good for Ford. I haven't seen up that high, I believe. De Jong in 8th, and 9th in Nacy, and Hawa in 10th. So this time around, the AOSP guys of the Nacy and Hawa are a bit further down, but they'll probably make it up in the race. Take a look here at someone who might improve, which is Vincent Elbrich, but he's really flirting with a couple of tenths or hundredths even on the relative.
Alright, I just checked, and the best qualifying position yet from Ford was 14th in the last race. So he's putting that number in half at the moment with his PE7. Would be a great qualifying.
Yeah, so maybe he had a little bit more time to practice for this one, or just enjoys the track a bit more. And definitely very competitive now, but we can see that, I mean, anywhere from P4 upwards, it's all really close. Between each position, there's almost less than a tenth between each position from 4th downwards, so that can all be really close in the race. Vincent Erbrich doesn't manage to improve yet.
Yeah, obviously this track is much different compared to what we had last weekend with the Mount Panorama at Bathurst. So we can expect some people that maybe struggled a bit more in the last race be a bit more competitive this time and vice versa.
Yeah.
Also at the moment Vincent Erbrich has had a really good first sector, about 2/10 up on his personal best lap time, which could potentially give him pole position if he can keep that delta until the end.
Yeah, Erbrich looking very strong. Someone I'm also looking at is Kevin Friedrich, who's currently about 8/10 up from his time, which could put him into 4th if he manages to keep this lap together. Also, the Macy improving. Van den Hudding is looking good. Actually, the Macy is improving by a lot, so that could actually put him up in P3, the Macy, if he manages this lap here. But Friedrich comes around the last corner here.
He had a relatively clean last sector, not a perfect one, but still good enough for P4. So that's big jump for him. And obviously the Nazi coming now over the line, he improved his lap by almost 2 seconds and goes up to P11 with that lap time.
Yeah, I'm interested to see here. Vincent Erbrich, yep. He does it again. Towards the end of the qualifying session, puts in a lap 2/10 faster than Marcus Lawrence, so he's really some kind of specialist when it comes towards late qualifying, I think.
Yeah, and Marcus Lawrence just headed into the pit, so with the time remaining we maybe see another lap for him, but he's not exiting his garage at the moment, so I expect that he won't have a shot for the pole position anymore.
Yeah, if he exits now, he's exiting the pit now, but surely he's gonna be too late to get around in time. Yeah,
he realizes that as well.
Yeah.
Goes back to the pits to not crash into anyone or ruin anyone's lap there at the end.
Looking towards the back now a bit more. Michael Fassbender in P23 at the moment is looking at about a half a second improvement, which could put him up a couple positions as he comes around the last corner here. So let's see where he ends up. I think that will be P15 for him. No, 20 actually. Oh, he was 4 seconds behind. Never mind, but still P20, so improvement for him. The Nacy also looking to improve as he comes out of that last corner. He can put on the board.
So looks like he wasn't able to improve his lap time, was just 1/10 short.
Yeah. The only person that's currently improving is Robert Jan de Jong by the smallest of margins. So we'll just follow him around here.
I'm already apologizing for any rain noise that we may have in the background.
Yeah, there's not gonna be any variable weather, I think, for this one, so unfortunately it won't enhance the simulation. But it will confuse people, so that's always good.
Now, someone who's not confused at the moment is Robert Jan de Jong, who's in the last sector. Misses his last chicane a bit. Lost a 10th there, maybe even 2. Looks like that was the time that he gained over the first 2 sectors, so can he improve his lap time?
No, it doesn't look like it.
Doesn't look like it.
That's a shame, because he could have jumped up maybe all the way up into 5th there if he put the lap together, so I'm sure we'll see him pick it up during the race.
But you see, it could haunt him again because the Nazi's in the last sector at the moment with about the 1/10 advantage at the moment, not yet in this lap. So can he keep it clean through the last turn? Looks like he had a bit of a wobble in the chicane in the last one and also lost 2 attempts there, just like Robert Jan de Jong. And just like him, he can't improve his lap time now at the end.
Someone else that's improving massively, Arnsman here. Thomas Arnsman in 3rd position. He's looking for a massive improvement. Might even jump Lawrence here, as he does. He does.
That was a really impressive lap from Arnsman to get the front row position.
Yeah, actually only 6 thousandths between him and Lawrence, so insanely close. But it has been the past couple of weeks between these guys.
Someone else that can improve still is Joshua Layson. He's just going through the last turn now. Lost a bit of time in the last chicane as well, just like we saw from some other drivers already.
Yeah, it really seems like that that last corner there is catching a lot of people out and they're losing time there. But with that being said, we will take a small break and then we'll come back with the full grid rundown together with the formation lap for you. So, be back in a bit. So, welcome back. We are here for the grid rundown for the PCDC ACC League, round 7 at Barcelona. And to start it off, we're going to start with our pole sitter, of course, Vincent Erbrich today. Right behind him, we have Thomas Arnsman, he has Martin as well. Then we have Marcus Lawrence, Kevin Friedrich in 4th, Ruben van den Hudding in 5th, Blason in 6th, Whippy Whip in 7th, John Ford in 8th, did really well during qualifying, De Jong in 9th, and Balin Nergish in 10th.
Yeah, in P11 we have Danesi with a really respectable lap time, kept improving throughout the qualifying. In P12, Rabi Hava. Then we also have do we even have Rabi Hava? No. Looks like he's not in the session. In then 13, then we have Domi Person, then Samuel Falkenberg, Kevin Elmes, Wayne Daniels, in P16 Andy Howard, P17 is Colin Tuck, P18 another Bentley with Peter Parnell, P19 Michael Fassbender, P20 is Harvey. In P21 we have a rookie in ACC today, which is Cozy Loveshack. P22 is Jan Visser, and in P23 also another rookie in our league, Dustin Dawes.
And that being said, we will take the camera back to the front here towards Vincent Erbrich as we're now into the last sector. And we will see here the grid will start to bunch up here. Obviously it's not that long of a run to the start finishing line. So,
yeah, but after the start finishing line it's a really long way until turn 1, so good start is vital.
Alright, so your driver's starting the bunch up. Everyone getting nice and close together. And then we will see when the green light goes.
Green light, green light.
So we're on our way for round 7 of the PCDC ACC League at Barcelona, Catalunya, and Erbrich actually with a terrible start. It looked like Arnsman actually was in front of him before the start even, so I don't know how that will work out. Going into turn 1, Arnsman takes the lead. Lawrence around the outside of Erbrich. Can Erbrich hold on here? Not quite sure. He does have a small
touch. There was a small touch between Friedrich and Marcus Lawrence there in turn 1, but it looks like both came out pretty well.
Alright, so Arnsman going into a demanding lead right away. Anything happening further back?
We have the two Benny the Bentley's teammates just going side by side through turn 4 and now even side by side through turn 5. Looks like they're still battling for position after starting just behind each other. They're both though losing a tiny bit of time, and looks like they sorted themselves out now with Robert Jan de Jong ahead of Whip.
Yeah, I think Whip actually lifted off a little bit there just to oh, that was a bit of a lag spike, but yeah, just to let De Jong through there so they wouldn't be obstructing each other at these starting sequences of the race.
Falkenberg just went really wide out of turn 9, clipped the gravel a bit, but managed to hold the car really well, and is now even passing someone out of turn 10 through the hairpin.
Further back we do have Andy Howard in P15 as well, fighting with Harvey in P16. Going side by side into the last sector there, but Howard comes out ahead. Yeah, the last sector here at Catalunya really tricky to do any overtaking, and the track does really get tight there, and there's really only one line through there.
Yeah, there normally is only one line, but we already sometimes saw in other series that sometimes people can manage to go too wide through some places. But we now see some action into turn 1 with one Ferrari, I think it was Ryan Daniels, going really deep into it.
Yeah, we do see a massive battle here around P14, from P12 to what is that, 17, 18, all these cars running really close together. We even see some 3 wide action there. Everyone seems to be getting through cleanly except for Andy Howard.
Goes a bit wide, yeah.
Yep. Andy Howard a bit wide there on the gravel, but no harm done really, except for some positions. But early on in the race, so better to get it out of the way.
We saw quite a few changes in track position at the moment already in the first few laps, and it looks like it hasn't stopped yet.
Yeah, so remarkable, the two Benny the Bentleys exactly, I think, who started in 9th and 8th are now up to 6th and 7th, so they both jumped 2 positions. Yeah, the real big battles here seem to be going on towards the back of the field, where there's a massive train forming. Looks to be forming behind, what is that? Cozy Love Shack, I think. Cozy Love Shack and Andy Howard, they're really the front of that train. Then before them you still have Colin Tuck and Friedrich.
Yeah, and Friedrich is struggling a bit at the start. He already went wide a few times. Maybe even has a slightly bit of damage. At least his front looks really dirty from his few trips into the gravel, but managed to keep it out of the wall yet.
Yeah, it looks as well for Friedrich. I don't know. Oh, as the back end gets loose there for him, and then
Cozy goes has a bit of a wobble,
yeah,
but manages to save it and don't spin into the cars behind.
Yeah, what I was gonna say was that Friedrich, if you look on the right flank of the car, it actually seems to be at quite a bit of damage, so I don't know where that happened, but probably will struggle a little bit with that. But yeah, Cozy Love Shack got it, I guess was kind of focused on the driver ahead of him and just made kind of a copycat mistake there, or like a, yeah.
Yeah, it's obviously tricky when you see a guy in front of you struggling a bit. You try to spot where he will end up on the track, and then sometimes you then compromise your own line a tiny bit, and that could be enough to just go a bit over the limit, and then you are just struggling for grip as well. But he managed it good by not spinning back onto the racing line and taking out multiple cars.
Oh no. Kevin Friedrich there, I think he got tapped by someone, but then just does a very poor rejoin into the middle of the racing line, actually collecting a couple of people there, I think.
Yeah, we see the cars behind of them just checking up a tiny bit. Also Fassbender, I think, clipping the guy in front of him a tiny bit on the entry there. And then multiple cars were involved in that crash.
So it seems the 2 Pineapple Racing guys, being Love Shack and Parnell, are struggling a bit towards the back here, running in 19th and 20th. So they'll sure be looking up to pick up the pace a little bit more in the second half of the race. Towards the front, though, I think Marcus Lawrence is slowly but surely trying to close in on Vincent Ehrlich, although they've been at about the same distance for 7 minutes.
Yeah, Lawrence had a quicker lap than the 2 guys in front of him in the last lap by being about 4 times quicker than both of them. So it's probably only a matter of time until he gets so close to Ehrlich that he maybe wants to make a move into most likely turn 1 or turn 10, because those are like the best overtaking opportunities on this track.
Yeah, we do see now that be wrong here, but it does seem like they're slowly catching up to Arnsman now. So Arnsman initially had that very good launch, but it does seem like Ehrlich and Lawrence are slowly closing up on him. So that might develop a little later on. A bit further down, I think we have P15, Arby. He's being closely followed by Colin Tuck into Sector 3.
Also, Falkenberg in P13 is really close to Daniels in front and Elm is behind him. They're just going down onto the start-finish line, but it looks like they're still a bit too far apart to make a move into turn 1.
Yeah, and if there's any track where slipstream is really useful, I think it's this one on the start-finish straight. You know, it's a really long straight, so
Yeah, it's a really long straight and also have that really slow exit out of the last chicane, so if you have good traction there and into the last turn, you can carry a lot of speed, and maybe if someone else is maybe struggling a bit with the tires or just doesn't have the balance right in their setup, it definitely can be a really good passing opportunity.
yeah. So as you mentioned before, Falkenberg now actually right on the back of Daniels, and he's trying to get a move done, but Daniels is definitely defending for it. He's not going to give up the position easily. Both in the Ferrari, so no clear advantage anywhere between these two, except for driving skill, perhaps.
Or maybe he tries dive bomb, or not really dive bomb. It was a good move into turn 10. Managed to outbrake Ryan Daniels there. Also even gets ahead before the exit of the turn and is therefore able to squeeze Daniels out a tiny bit, and just shows that he really wants that position.
Yeah, I think it was less a matter of dive bombing. I think he just pulled out at the last second to surprise Daniels, since Daniels didn't take any kind of defensive line. He obviously Falkenberg only had to choose where he wanted to go with the car, so.
Daniel has some other issues with Elmas now going side by side down the front stretch, just what we talked about earlier. In the last lap we see Daniels now on the outside in Ferrari. Can he outbrake Aston Martin? It doesn't look like he's that confident on the brakes at the moment, but Aston Martin struggles a bit. Maybe a small touch there between those two, and Daniels comes out ahead again.
Yeah, so very well done by Daniels. Yeah, small mistake from Elms, which means he has to give up that position again. Meanwhile, Falkenberg really pulling ahead now from Daniels and Elms, so he's doing a good job. Definitely seems to have picked up the pace.
Someone that hasn't picked up the pace yet is Arnsman, because Vincent Erbrich is getting a lot closer this lap. The gap is only down to about 0.3 of a second.
Yeah, so possibly here, with Arnsman struggling a bit, here's where Lawrence might capitalize on. If Erbrich decides to go for a move somewhere, he might just follow Erbrich through and try to get past Arnsman that way.
Yeah, if we look at the championship standings, Marcus Lawrence needs a P2 to make it safely to win the championship in this race already, so he definitely wants to get past one of those two ahead. He probably doesn't bother which one of the two he's gonna pass, so maybe he's just waiting for Erbrich and Arnsman to get in a bit of fight and then just picking up the pieces, but that's not the case just yet.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the smartest thing for him to do now, and I think, I mean, Erbrich and Lawrence are experienced enough to know that they would fight each other now, it would only damage their race in the long run, so I think they will leave that probably towards the second half of the race.
Domi person just was really close to Nyagish, but then had a bit of a lockup into turn 1, had to go over the sausage curbs on the inside. Let's hope it didn't damage his own car, but he definitely lost all the time that he gained in the last few laps.
Yeah, so meanwhile, also the Nacy has caught up a bit to Robert Jan de Jong. He's down on P8. De Jong not quite up to speed, I think. Trailing a little bit as Whip, his teammate, now has pulled about a second lead, and the Nacy seems to have a bit more pace. Then again, de Jong has posted a faster overall lap time than the Nacy, so yeah, that pans out. But the Nacy really closing up now. I think maybe the Ferrari might be a bit better suited here in that last sector, especially where there's a lot of tight and twisty turns. I think the Bentley tends to struggle a little bit.
Yeah, obviously with the Ferrari having a really low center of gravity, which makes him really good for those small, short sections like we also have at the Hungary, for example, which is basically just the same as the last sector on this track. But then again, the Bentley is really good in like the first and the middle sector because of those long corners where you really just need that longer wheelbase to maximize your grip in those quick turns.
Yeah, and we do see exactly that happening now with gone through the first 2 turns, and we see that the Nacy actually falls back a bit now, so we can definitely see where the car's strengths come into play here. But yeah, the Nacy is definitely still looking hungry here behind De Jong, and I think we have John Ford there slowly creeping up as well, so Ford I think started in 7th, but
No, Ford started in 8th.
8th. So only dropped one position back, but doing good.
Yeah, and the Nacy started in 11 and is already up into P8. Obviously, it helped that someone like Kevin Friedrich had a bit of issue at the front, and obviously had a damaged car and then had to pit for repairs. But still gained 3 places until now.
So again in the last sector we can see the top 3 really close together. Like, less than a second between them all. They go to this front straightaway. Early. Oh, Marcus Lawrence is actually gonna try to move up the inside of Vincent Airbrake as they go side by side into turn 1. But doesn't manage to hold on. He looks for the cutback going around the outside. But again, Airbrake holds on.
Let's see if he can make the move into turn 4 now on the inside. Maybe a bit of a surprise, but looks like he's just a bit too far back.
Yeah, and again, I think it's one of those cases, especially in those long sweeping corners. It's difficult to hold on off of the racing line because there's just as Airbrake actually makes a mistake there. So that allows Lawrence to go side by side again. Still side by side, really nice racing, close racing by these guys, and Lawrence actually managed to pick up the position, but Airbrake is right behind him, so we'll see if he tries anything into the hairpin. Going down the front straight, Airbrake is gonna try it, it seems. No, he just slots in the back. Maybe,
That was really well done from Lawrence. As we saw around the outside, manages to even have his nose a tiny bit ahead on the entry of the turn, but then still just braking that small bit later than Airbrake and then keeping the pace around the outside. Managed to get the exit properly and then staying ahead into turn 9. That was a really well done, well executed move.
Yeah, and now we'll see again coming out of the last corner here if Airbrake has any decent traction, but Lawrence does have the slipstream from Arnsman in front, so he should be able to bring it safely into turn 1 without fearing Airbrake attacking him.
We see them using all the road that is available to them into turn 1, while Marcus Lawrence goes a bit wide, didn't manage to get the car into the second apex quite well. Also compensates his exit of turn 3 a tiny bit, which means that Airbrake is close enough to maybe make a move, but backs out of it before, doesn't want to risk it just yet that early in the race.
Yeah, we'll go on board here with Airbrake for a little bit since this battle is so close. But Arnsman doing a decent job actually, not seeming to not be dazzled too much by the guys behind him, fighting it out. So he's just running his race, trying to hold on to this P1. But I think if either Lawrence or Airbrake can attack him, he'll probably drop back a bit. I think that in this case the dirty air is helping him a little bit, or them two fighting is also definitely helping. But Lawrence is actually now right up to the back of Arnsman. So we'll see now if he can keep it this close into the last sector, and if he gets a good run out of the last turn, he might be able to overtake Arnsman on the straight with the slipstream.
Yeah, we already saw in earlier laps that Lawrence is really happy to try to make a move into the first few turns, especially in the first sector and also in the middle sector where he passed Erbrich earlier.
Yeah, so we can see here Lawrence definitely has the overspeed here. What will Arnsman do? So side by side again into turn 1. Lawrence does very well to keep he did very well to keep his speed in around the outside there, but then just gets a slight tap by Arnsman, so I don't know.
Yeah, Arnsman really squeezed him around the outside. Lawrence will not be happy with that move.
Yeah, and then go ahead.
But now looks like Jim Broom or Winston Erbrich actually can capitalize from that mistake, from the battle that those guys had. Winston Erbrich now into the lead. Also Lawrence maybe now wants to profit from the fact that Arnsman itself got squeezed this time around the outside. Now around the outside into turn 7, just like against Winston Erbrich. Still, again, Lawrence manages to keep it around the outside and stays ahead and now is back into position 2.
Yeah, now it will be interesting to see if Lawrence can actually keep up with Erbrich, because we know if Erbrich gets in front, it's usually pretty much a done deal, but then again, we haven't seen that insane pace from Erbrich today so far, so I think Lawrence actually has a pretty good chance to keep up with him.
Yeah, Lawrence still has the quickest lap in the race until now by over 3/10 compared to compared to Arnsman and Erbrich. So with the slipstream that is quite huge on this track, it's gonna be really tricky for Erbrich to break away.
And a bit further back, we just had a little bit of a battle going on between 18th and 19th, which is Dustin Dodds and Peter Parnell. They're really giving each other a good run for their money.
They were really close for the last few laps already, but looks like Dustin Dawes is just not making that many mistakes at the moment. And Peter Parnell isn't too confident in his own car, while Dustin Dawes goes a bit wide at the hairpin, and Peter Parnell uses that instantly, manages to slip ahead.
He definitely jinxed it there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Dustin Dawes loses position there, but, you know, nothing much lost, only about half a second maybe, and allows Peter Parnell to slip through. Another battle that might be going on here is between P14 and 15, Colin Tuck and Harvey here. Tuck looking right up to the back of Harvey as he makes a little bit of a mistake going into turn 1, which allows Andy Howard behind him to capitalize, and then Andy Howard and Harvey, I don't know, I think maybe unofficially they're teammates since they're running they're not running the same car, but very similar liveries.
Yeah, Tuck managed really well there after the small mistake that he made into turn 1. He managed to close the gap behind for Howard on the exit of turn 2 by just going really wide before there was any overlap established. So good racecraft from Tuck by making a mistake and then still knowing how to prevent a car behind from capitalizing from that. Looks like Falkenberg had a tiny bit of an issue, went a bit wide on the hairpin, but no damage done.
We take a look here. Tuck, Harvey, and Howard still in this three-way battle here for P14. All really close. If Tuck can just stay close in the final sector here, he'll be able, as he gets a bit loose there, actually, bit of a late dive from Howard.
Yeah, he saw the gap after Tuck was struggling with his rear tires a bit, but Tuck wanted to defend it, went for the apex, but then the Porsche was already in there with his nose, which then led to some bit of contact. Looks like no damage was done, but this is still a big time loss for Tuck.
Yeah, I think personally, Tuck might have been slightly too late with his defensive move there, since Howard clearly already went for the move up the inside, and I think Tuck reacted a bit instinctively there by closing the door at the last second. But I'm sure that will be discussed after the race.
Yeah, it's certainly a bit of a 50-50. Howard just... He saw the gap, which was arguably there, braked as late as he could, and then Tuck thought there was not enough overlap yet, so he's gonna turn in. But sadly there was already a bit of overlap established, so that's definitely something for us to watch after the race.
So we are slowly coming up to our pit stop window here. So with 35 minutes left in the race soon, that's when the pit window will open, and it will run from 35 minutes left to 25 minutes left. So they'll have a 10-minute pit window, and that's where we will see who has really perfected their pit stops. This is an important aspect in this game.
Looks like someone that definitely wants a pit stop right now, because he's maybe struggling with the tires, is Robert Jan de Jong. He went from P7 down to P9, had to lost both positions to Denesi and to Ford. He was right behind Whip a few laps ago, so he must have made a mistake somewhere. His car looks undamaged, so maybe just a small off.
Yeah, his last lap was 50.4, which is about 5 seconds slower, I think.
And what the leaders are doing.
Yeah, what the leaders are doing, so probably about 4 seconds slower on it than his normal pace. So yeah, definitely a bit of an off somewhere for De Jong, but plenty of time to recover, of course. But as the pit window is going to open, the question will be if you had maybe an off into the gravel or a bit of a slide where maybe your tires have gotten damaged. The question is, will these drivers that have made those mistakes go for the pit stop straight away? Because I think that's probably a good option.
I mean, it always depends. If someone is not comfortable on the tires and thinks it's just like the track itself and that they can't really fix it, then it's also not a bad idea to just try to even out both stints, to not have so bad, to not have the tires in a really bad state at the end of the race. Always, obviously, depends on what the driver thinks, what the cause for the issues is. Like, we see that Jan de Jong has the best, fastest lap time if we do not count in the top 3. So he has the pace to get a really good finish in this race. Just needs to fight his way back up. Nierges is already into the pits now, just when the pit window opened.
Yeah, so the pit window just opened and Nierges already deciding to pit, so maybe he's had an off somewhere or ruined his tires in some way and it's deciding to just get it out of the way. It'll be interesting to see here what our leaders decide to do. As actually we see now, Vincent Erbeck, late into his first stint here, he's actually pulling a slight gap there of about 2 seconds. Nothing massive, but it's coming to a point where it will be harder to latch on for Marcus Lawrence.
Yeah, slowly but surely Vincent Erbeck is pulling away by about half a second in the last lap. And it was about the same in the laps before, so looks like Lawrence is already out of the slipstream window, which not so good for him. But at least he manages to also get Arnsman a tiny bit with also just over 2 seconds.
Yeah, as we are talking about this, we actually see a lot of the midfield there pulling into the pits already. We have the likes of Howard, Tuck, Parnell, Dawes, Visser, all going into the pit already, so a lot of people deciding
to... Marcus Lawrence now from the leading group.
Okay, so Lawrence electing to pit in early here. Usually we see Lawrence hitting right about the halfway mark. He usually just splits it in the middle, but maybe he thinks on the fresh rubber he can make up some more time than staying longer on his older tires, so we'll see how that pans out for him. So yeah, a lot of people pitting here.
Dustin Dawes now after the pit, still tiny bit behind Peter Parnell. Looks like they will have a closer battle. Looks like Peter Parnell has a stop and go penalty, 30 seconds, is that correct?
Yes, that seems to be correct, so must have sped into the pit or out of the pit. which is a shame to see.
It is a tricky pit entry on this track because it's relatively long. You have those white walls on the left and the right hand side, and you just don't really have any reference points for your braking marker. So you just have to do it by feel, and you obviously want to gain every small bit of time that you can over your competitors, even in the pit entry, because that's somewhere where some people always lose a bit of time.
Yeah, and I think unfortunately for Parnell, that will put him pretty much out of the running for this race to make up any more positions, because I think with that he'll drop right to the back of the grid, and he'll be quite a ways behind our last driver at the moment, which is Jan Visser, who we will take into consideration here. So running his black and yellow Ferrari here. Not that far behind Dawes, I believe. Well, actually,
someone that is profiting at the moment because he hasn't pitted yet is Cozy Lurchek. Now up to P10, still has to make his pit stop, but is also at the moment on track, at least in front of Robert Jan de Jong.
yeah, so that's one of those things where, you know, sometimes staying out a bit longer, even if your tires are worn, can pay off, just to have like those 1 or 2 laps without traffic. That can really help if a lot of people pull into the pit. But yeah, the biggest part of our grid has already pulled into the pits. We also see Airbrick now coming in. Layson has come in, Danesi, Person, and Harvey.
Yeah, Arnsman is the one from the leading group that stayed out the longest. Maybe he just wants to even out both of the stints after what we saw last week, where he missed his pit window. So let's hope that won't happen to him again after that small, let's say, miscalculation from his side.
Yes, we also see now that that Lawrence has actually made up about a second or so with his pit stop there, so he's actually within the second range again of Airbrick there. So positive for Lawrence, not so positive for Airbrick. And as they're now gonna come up to traffic, which is in the form of Jan Visser, we'll see how that plays out. So Jan Visser should be getting the blue flags here. Let's see if he decides to move. Not yet.
Probably wants to do it now after turn 9.
Yeah, this would be the smart decision. Yeah, he decides to. In the meanwhile, Lawrence and Airbrick really close together now, so going into the last sector. I don't think this is what Airbrick would have liked going into the second half of this race, so Lawrence can really put the pressure on now, and again, going into this last sector, if he gets like a good run out of the last corner, he could make something work here.
Also, we can see that Arnsman pitted this lap, so while Vincent Airbrick and Marcus Lawrence are fighting, we will see Arnsman exiting the pits. Also, Harvey just got a drive-through penalty, or probably track limit violation. So where's Arnsman? He's still in the pits. He's only exiting now, so he definitely dropped a bit more than
for sure.
Lawrence and Airbrick.
Yeah, Arnsman definitely lost out with his pit stop there, and quite severely, I think, actually. As we now see, actually, Ruben van den Hudding is not that far behind Arnsman either. He's within a second, I think.
Yeah, and Arnsman now with cold tires, so if Ruben van den Hudding wants to make a move, it's time to do it right now.
Yeah, so back at the front between Airbrick and Lawrence, it's as Harvey gets a drive-through now as well in P16, so that will really damage his race. But yeah, towards the front, seems like Lawrence just doesn't have quite enough to keep up with Airbrick, but it only takes one mistake, of course.
I think Whip just had a small incident in the first sector of the lap. Dropped 2 positions and is now down just in front of his teammate again. He was P6 earlier, I believe. He lost the position to Danesi.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see if the two teammates can maybe work together a little bit to both get to the front. I'm sure
looking at the
Yeah, go ahead.
looking at the lap times, it looks like Robert Jan de Jong is a bit quicker. Also has a bit of warmer tires because he pitted, I think, 2 laps or so earlier in whip.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. I do think Whip has a slight overall pace advantage, but
At the moment, I would say that Robert Jan de Jong is the quicker driver, but just makes a tiny bit more mistakes,
yeah,
which
exactly.
normally just negates that
Yeah.
pace advantage.
I think Whip is slightly more consistent. That's how I should phrase it at the moment than De Jong, but they'll slowly make their way up again. We see now Vincent Erbrich again as they have come by some lap traffic. Lauren's still within about half a second, so not letting go for the moment. So not as easy of a race as for Erbrich as he has had before. We also now see Bali Niergesh. He's under attack by John Ford in P9 and P10.
Yeah, Niergesh, which is the only Lexus in the field at the moment, with a respectable position in P9. And he started in P10, so made up 1 position now from the start of the race.
Yeah, it's one of those things where Lexus, at the start I know it was very popular, but I think with some updates and stuff it has dropped down a little bit pace-wise. But I think the main point of people not picking the Lexus that much is because there's no custom liveries for it, so...
One thing I think that we haven't covered is that both Pineapple Bentleys are staying in the pits at the moment. Even though they have already pitted before, with Cozy Loveshack being 3 laps down and Peter Parnell being 2 laps down. So it looks like their team has retired both of their entries.
I mean, that's what we expect from them, isn't it?
But if you look at John Ford now, he is really close to Niergesh now on the start finish. Niergesh sitting in the middle of the track, Ford thinking about diving down the inside, but then decides to stick it around the outside, still manages to hold the overlap through turn 1 and turn 2. Doesn't quite get ahead on the exit there. So is like on the outside now of the really long turn 3, and he's just thinking of when will that turn finally end. Bit of an overlap still, trying to brake a tiny bit later. Small touch between both of them, but that's just a small rub. That's completely fine. Still sideways down into turn 5. Niergesh trying to defend the inside and manages to hold the car down into the apex, gets a decent exit, and the fight is now delayed for yet another lap.
Yeah, it's really close between these guys, so they're definitely putting up a good fight between each other. Front again, Erbrich just slightly pulling away from Lawrence, but nothing massive. We've had a couple of retirements, I believe, in the form of so Peter Parnell, Kevin Elms, Cozy Loveshack, and Kevin Friedrich. No harm done. Still a lot of battling going on.
Yeah, I think one of the persons with the most places gained at the moment is Dustin Dawes, who is up into P17 by his consistent driving at the moment. He started down in P24.
Yeah, definitely looking good there, Dustin Dawes.
Ryan Daniels with a drive-through penalty.
Oh, that will definitely hurt Daniels' race there. So that's gonna probably put him out of the points, I think.
Yeah, Andy Howard about 25 seconds behind. Could be close with the drive-through, but I think just a bit too much for Daniels.
Yeah. But, I mean, can we talk about Dustin Dawes' livery as well? That's I know he's been going crazy on the Discord about Carl Long Motorsport, and he's only doing paint jobs with those colors now. But I mean, we can safely say it's a hideous combination, right?
I mean, it's a combination that definitely stands out, which
Yeah.
is probably the thing that you want.
I mean,
So if there are any companies listening or watching the stream at the moment, I think I need a car where if I put a sponsor on there, it should be on the TV, people should be able to see it and it should stand out, and this is the guy that you want.
yeah. I think it's a bit like, you know, like the Rebellion racing cars, except like the complete opposite. So Rebellion kinda, how would you say it?
And you have the black background with those splashes of colors everywhere.
Yeah, they stand out because their liveries are like different and nice. And this one stands out because it's different and,
It's
and ugly.
I wouldn't say it's ugly, it's just opinions are different for everyone.
I mean, I guess
some people may like it.
I guess I would expect that from someone like you with the livery you ran at the start of at some seasons. So
Yeah, that was a good livery.
But yeah, Dustin Dawes running a pretty good race, definitely for his. I'm pretty sure this is like his actual first race on Assetto Corsa, if I'm not mistaken. Like his first
And
serious
he hadn't
race.
had too much practice, and his car still looks really clean. Just obviously a bit of dirt everywhere.
Yeah.
But after 40 minutes of racing, still keeping the car out of the wall. Not everyone has managed to do that in our race at the moment, but other than that, I think the race at the moment is still looking really clean. Not a lot of incidents. We saw some, but that's like to be expected with a grid of 24 cars starting a 60-minute sprint race.
So a bit of further look down towards the front. We do see now Vincent Erbic has pulled about a 2.5 second gap, so he's definitely slowly extending that that gap between him and Lawrence. So Lawrence will need to find that extra gear to close up again on Erbic, perhaps. And then so let's see, Daniels with his drive-through penalty actually up into P15, so still in the points, but not a lot of points. He is closing up again now to Colin Tuck and Andy Howard, so he'll be looking to get past them as quick as possible.
Yeah, Colin Tuck in the last lap was a few times quicker than Andy Howard, so maybe if they keep the pace like that, we maybe see a triple fight somewhere down the start-finish.
Yeah, and I just saw Daniels going up the hill. He was getting a bit loose, so he's definitely probably a bit angry at himself for getting that drive-through, which I presume is probably for track limits. But yeah, now right up to the back of Colin Tuck, who made a slight mistake there. Yeah, Daniel's really pushing his car to the limit.
Obviously really hard to try to make a move into the last sector.
Tuck again with a little mistake there. Daniels manages to slip on the inside.
Can he keep it on the exit? Yes, he can.
Yeah, I think so. Tuck got a really bad run out of that last corner, so Daniels got through pretty cleanly and will now be hunting down Andy Howard. As we're in the last 20 minutes, I think it's a perfect time to go on board with our leader, Vincent Erbic.
Who just passed Dustin Dawes. So we won't see his livery, we only see that one in the rearview mirror. It looks like everyone is just doing their pace at the moment. Not a lot of fighting going on. What we do have is Niaga still trying to close the gap to fourth. And he's doing that he's doing it with just a few attempts every lap. But I expect that we will see a fight for the position there for P9 towards the end of the race.
Yeah, it's part of the race where it definitely comes down to it. 16 minutes left, so people will be looking to maybe push that tiny bit harder and get that move done for that one position more.
Yeah, also what we saw in the first stint was that a lot of people were struggling with their tires towards the end of the stint, which maybe explains why people pitted, like most of the people pitted before the half an hour mark. So they all have to watch out a bit more on the tires in the second stint. That's probably why we see a bit less fighting going on. Some other cars are still trying to push really much, like Robert Jan de Jong, who is sliding a bit in almost every turn, just trying to gain every 10th possible.
Yeah, and
but he's not quick. He's not a lot quicker than Whip at the moment.
Yeah, because I think looking at the time or at the relative, it actually might be hurting his time a little bit that he's pushing so hard. So. But yeah, about 6/10 down from his best lap so far. Hasn't managed to improve on his first best lap, I think. Track is very slowly cooling down. We started at 36 degrees, it's now going to 35, which obviously is not gonna be enough to warrant a big performance gain, but
yeah, still better than what they had in qualifying with the 40 degrees, for example.
Yeah.
So it's cooling down a tiny bit. What we see though is that Whip is slowly closing down on Danesi after he lost that position quite a few laps ago.
Yeah,
Danesi is consistently in the 46s, same with P5 and P4, while Whippy can do 45s.
Yeah, so definitely looked like there won't be enough time, but Whip and de Jong definitely towards the end of the race here looking very capable of fighting with those guys around P4 and P5 as well. Yeah, just a little bit too late, but they will be able to attack Danesi here as Whip actually closes right up to the back of him, and we'll see here we go onto the back straight soon here.
Whips doesn't really see his braking point that much, but also Danesi goes off, and he's stopping the car on the gravel.
Ooh, might that be a technical problem for Danesi?
Looks like some kind of issue. He is stuck in first gear at the moment, so he was able to downshift, and now he towed back to the pit lane.
Very strange. I assume we will hear from Danesi at some point, but yeah, that almost looked like maybe a mechanical failure on his part. Maybe something with his rig or strange. Anyway, but positive for Whip and de Jong, because they'll both pick up a free position there, a freebie. Then also John Ford here running in 8th. So yeah, John back into his starting position, but I think he'll be very happy with that because we haven't seen him up this high in any of our races. So really good performance from Ford.
Someone else that is slowly but surely trying to gain a few places is Domi Person, now up to P10. He benefited a lot from some retirements that were from people that were ahead of him. Started in P13, now up to P10. His race last year was a bit better than today, because there I think he finished up in P5 and was also relatively quiet throughout the race. He was also a bit quiet this time, but yeah, just didn't manage to have the pace to gain more positions at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, the pace he's putting in now actually putting in high 45, so really, really good pace from Person here. Very
Right.
similar pace towards
Marcus Lawrence, actually.
yeah, so definitely coming alive here towards the last minutes of the race here for Domi Person, and he'll soon be able to attack Njargash in front, and then maybe also even forward if he keeps up this pace.
Yeah, depending on if he can keep the pace up and also how fast he can get by Njargash. Because we only have about 11 minutes remaining. And with a lap time of about 1 minute and 45 seconds, he won't have that many chances. So as soon as he gets close to Njargash, he really has to make the move relatively quickly.
Yep, he's gonna have to be very decisive on his moves, because else I'll lose a lot of time. But a top 10 so far, so definitely not a bad performance. And looking at the rest of the grid, everything has kind of spaced out a little bit here towards the end of the race.
Yeah, we still have Harvey being 2 seconds behind Dustin Dawes. Well, he has a bit of a pace advantage over Dustin, but we will see if he manages to close down the gap.
So it's actually now having to let Lay Song through, so being lapped there. This will allow Howard, I think, to close up a little bit. Oh no, wait. That behind him. Harvey, sorry. Harvey to close up a little bit more behind Dustin Dawes.
Yeah, Robert Jan de Jong manages to close the gap by a few, just really 3 or 4 tenths over the last few laps, while he goes a bit wide off of turn 9 again. Looks like the balance of the car isn't really just how he wants it. And he's just not in the slipstream window just yet.
Yeah, it seems that looking at I mean, the Bentley overall a very stable car, but it does seem like the Young today has struggled a little bit with it. Just maybe just pushing a little bit too hard with that Bentley, but you see Harvey here slowly closing up to Dustin Dawes, as he's now within half a second. I'm sure we'll see him move here soon.
Yeah, Harvey, who had a drive-through penalty earlier on in the race, tries to fight back from that. He probably won't be able to go back into the points, into the top 15, but still wants to pass Dustin Dawes, obviously.
As he's closing up quite rapidly. He does have the likes of Whip and De Jong behind him, so these two are gonna have to come through at some point, and we'll see when they choose to do that. Ideally, I think it would be on the straight that they let Whip through at least.
Yeah, Whitby is really close now. Probably wants to get by them quickly to not let Robert Jan de Jong close up too.
Yep, so we see Harvey lift off a little bit there.
Yeah, Dustin Dawes playing it smartly, doesn't lift off too early on the throttle, manages to build a bit of a gap now. Question is, when will he let Whip now pass?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Dustin Dawes only moving. Oh, he actually does it there. Okay, interesting.
Lifts off the bit on the exit, now gives Whip the apex.
Does mean Howard is pretty damn close. They also have De Jong behind them now, which means they'll have to let him through as well at some point.
Yeah, definitely not what Harvey needs now. He was more expecting trying to make the move now down into turn 1, but obviously with De Jong just behind him, he has to lift off the tiny bit. Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah, it's always tricky in such a situation as well, where you have two lapped cars battling each other and then you're coming through. You almost don't want to interfere with them, but it is needed.
Yeah, now De Jong is close, working sideways with Harvey. Dustin Dawes is watching his mirrors, leaving the apex open, but that also means that Harvey can go to the right hand side, which is
Yeah.
obviously now the outside. Ooh, Harvey with a late move down the inside, manages to stick it to the apex and gets the position.
Yeah, I think Dawes actually being a bit too nice there, letting De Jong through. Probably should have timed it a little bit better there, because he definitely lost out on that one. But we'll see here if Dawes can latch onto the back of Harvey and maybe even make a move into the hairpin.
Looks like the gap is just a tiny bit too big now. Dustin Dawes manages to break a bit later than Harvey, but was just not close enough.
Yeah, again, everything will come down to this last sector and that last corner exit. If you can get a good run out of there, you're pretty much set to overtake someone. Especially seeing as Harvey won't have any slipstream, I think he'll be just outside the window.
Yeah, Dustin is close. He has the quicker car on the straights. Harvey's not really defending the inside, so it's now down to the braking of both of those drivers. Dustin Dawes goes quite a bit deeper. Oh yeah. Bit too late.
Yeah, just
Didn't manage to slow down enough for the ape.
Yep, just a bit too deep into the brakes for Dawes, and that might see his chance at taking that position from Harvey again gone. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, we see Vincent Erbrich has now solidified his lead with about an 8.5 second lead. So has really
Should
managed
be about
to
3 laps remaining.
yeah, 3 laps remaining or thereabouts. But yeah, Vincent really in the second part of this race really put in the consistency and the pace to build a bit of a gap. Same with everyone in the top 5, really. Everyone just has a bit of a gap going. Actually, let's take a look at... Yeah, so Whip's slowly closing up, but he won't have enough to catch up to Layson, I think.
Doesn't look like it if Layson doesn't make a mistake. What we may can have a look at now is the point standings if they finish in the order that they are now, because with a win, Vincent Erbrich gains 26 points and is then up to 104, while Echo is in P2 and has 134 points because of that at the end of the race, and that means that he's about 30 points clear of Vincent Erbrich if they stay in that position, and with only 30 points, Vincent Erbrich will not be able to catch Marcus Lawrence in the last race in the standings. So if Marcus Lawrence can keep his P2, he will win the championships. He will win the championship one race before the end of the season.
Yep. So with about 3 minutes to go, it doesn't look like Lawrence is gonna give up that P2. He has a good lead over Arnsman, and he just has to finish this race really to okay, as the back marker moves out of the way for Erbrich there, but yeah, Lawrence can grab the championship here, and with 3 minutes to go, I think he will do so.
Yeah, he looks comfortable at the moment. He's doing the pace that he needs to. He has a good gap down to Arnsman, which is just a bit over 8 or 10 seconds, something around that. With just 2 more laps that they have to complete. Vincent Erbrich did everything that he could while going a bit wide at turn 3. He is leading the field after having the pole position. Had a bit of a slow start.
Yeah, definitely not what we're used to. We're used to Erbrich pretty much taking a demanding lead from the start, but definitely took him a bit longer today. But in the end, he still got it done, and Probably gonna win with about a 9-second gap over P2. But obviously, the most of the attention today will be for Lawrence as he will grab the championship if he manages to keep it together, of course.
Yeah, Domi person wasn't able to keep his pace from 45s up. He's now back into the 46s and therefore cannot close the gap to Niergesh quick enough before the end of the race.
Yeah, although you do say that, but Niergesh now coming up to some lap cars, so depending on how they reversed, he's actually looks like Ford also lost a lot of time there with the back marker.
Yeah, that was Hardy, who is now in between Domi person and Niergesh.
Yeah, so perhaps if someone pulls out a blistering lap here, they might still be able to challenge each other. But in the meanwhile, we do have Vincent Erbrich on his last lap.
Again, going wide at turn 3.
Yeah, that might be some esports strat or something. Don't know.
Definitely a possibility. You want to carry as much speed through that turn as you can.
But yeah, Vincent Erbrich looking comfortable on his way to a victory. It is red Aston Martin. But yeah, really solid race from Vincent. Nothing really to comment about. Did struggle a little bit in the early stages, but second part of the race, really nothing, no critiques there, just solid race.
Yeah, we had that really close fight for P1, 2 and 3 with Erbrich, Lawrence and Arnsman at the beginning, with Arnsman being ahead, was able to manage a bit of a gap. Erbrich closed that down, waited for a mistake for Arnsman, then gained the lead and didn't let it go from there.
So, Erbrich coming around the last corner here to win round 7 of the PCDC ACC League. And a really nice result for him as he celebrates coming across the line. But the real man that can, or the man that can really celebrate, I should say, is Marcus Lawrence in P2 here as he'll grab the championship. I don't even know if he realizes it, but I'm sure we'll have a talk with him after the race here. Then in third,
very well done from both of them.
Yep. Third, Arnsman coming across the line there. We've also had Daniels and Tuck finish in 12th and 13th.
We have Ruben and Hidding coming down in P4 through the last turn.
Yep, so really good. I think that might have been the strongest finish for Van den Hudding in our league. P4, and then Layson in P5, which seems to be seems to end up there quite a bit. And then Whip in 6th, De Jong in 7th, Ford coming across the line in 8th, Arias in 9th, Person in 10th.
Yeah, Domi person just wasn't quick enough today to really be a threat for a similar finish that he had last week. But still P10, good finish for him.
Yeah, it looked like for a bit there that he was really starting to pick up pace and he was possibly gonna overtake one or even maybe 2 cars in front of him, but just fell short today. But still,
now
the top 10.
Falkenberg also crossing the start-finish line in P11.
Only remaining finisher then will be Vissers. Find him here. There he goes. So he will be our last finisher. So yeah, overall a really solid race. Very intense opening stages here. We will actually see if we can get some of the drivers in here for a little interview. I mean, I think we have to start off with the championship winner, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Hello there.
Hello.
So, is there any questions from anybody?
Yeah, in the background.
Yeah, okay.
Publication Walter Köster, Saarbrücker Zeitung. Echo, in the next week, you will receive your champion award. But does the PCDC ACC League need other awards, like for the Rookie of the Year, Personality of the Year, and the Action of the Year? And now the Mercedes tire crew had won for first time the first fastest pit stop award. Do you think that there are enough awards, or can you imagine several other awards? For example, like an award for fair play, for especially friendly action, or there are no friendly actions in PCDC ACC League. What's your opinion and the opinion of other drivers for this subject?
No, but so mathematically, I think you grabbed the championship today. I mean,
Yeah,
we're
you
actually
have
sure of it. So we want to congratulate you on that. That's why we wanted you first in here.
Ah, awesome, thank you. It was an amazing battle at the start.
Yeah, you were really close together with Erbrich and Arnsman in the first 20 minutes of the race.
Yeah, I managed to get part Vincent. I think he went into the gravel, and that made me. I had a run on him, and I managed to get him. And then I had a run on Thomas Arisman as well, down into turn 1. I thought I could go around the outside, but I think he ran wide and pushed me off a little bit. But I think if I managed that overtake, I might have been able to pull away if Vincent was stuck behind Thomas for a little bit. And I think the rest might have been a little bit different, but I'm still happy with P2. So.
Yeah, in the end, you clinched the championship with that position. So congratulations to you. And I hope you'll be back for round 8, even though you have the championship.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Well, I can only congratulate you, and we'll see you next week then.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. Let's see if we can get someone else here. Maybe Domi Person. I don't think we've had him in here before.
And we also made the leader, the winner of the race, Jim Boom.
Oh yeah. Let's get him in first then, Jim Boom. Hello, Vincent.
Please.
So, victory today. It doesn't seem like it was as easy or as smooth as it was some other times we've seen you race.
No, the guys were stronger than expected. But
Yeah.
it was a really...
Go ahead.
I was gonna say it was a fantastic race. I was waiting for one like that for a while. Great racing at the front in the first stint.
Yeah, it looked like you had a bit of an issue at the start there. Lost the lead directly to Arnsman, and then were stuck behind we're just stuck between Lawrence and Arnsman for the first 10 minutes of the race until you made a mistake and let Lawrence pass.
Yeah, and then I got Lawrence went for the move on Arnsman, and they kind of tangled with each other, and I how do we say? I
capitalized.
Yeah, on both of them. And after that, in cleaner, my pace was a bit better, so I was able to capitalize on that as well.
Yeah.
Sadly, even though you won the race, you cannot win the championship anymore by our calculations, because you're now about 30 points behind Lawrence.
Only 30 points.
Yeah, so if you win the next race and Lawrence maybe doesn't get any points, you can still get it really close. But unfortunately not win the championship anymore, even though you won 4 races now already this season.
Yeah, well, I will try to come back stronger for the next one.
Yeah, but definitely a good performance again from you, Vincent, and we'll see you next week, hopefully.
We take that as a yes.
But yep, I hope you had fun commentating on that.
Yeah, it was a really good race to watch, especially at the front and even in the midfield. There was just a lot of battles going on, but definitely that top 3 fight in the first half of the race was really enjoyable to watch.
Nice.
Yeah, congratulations again, and we will see you next week.
You can
In the chat at least.
All right, see ya. Cool. And then one more person we can get in here is Domi person here. Oh, I can't actually. Oh, there we go. Domi. Is he here? Oh, I think I can hear him. Yeah. So Domi, how did that race go today?
Pretty good for me. How was it for you guys?
I mean, pretty enjoyable. Like a lot of fights up and down the grid, and we were looking at you towards the end of the race, and it really looked like you were starting to build some pace, but then eventually dropped off towards the end. We thought you were gonna challenge Nergesh there towards the end.
I mean, I kind of had some hopes of possibly challenging him, but he and I had kind of tussled earlier in the race, and I punted him into turn 1, so I felt really bad about that. So I'm not even sure if I would another. But I was really happy with the pace of the car. I think I just got lucky with my setup. I'm actually driving on an old Kyalami setup, so I think it was kind of luck that the car held up as well as it did.
It wasn't quite as successful as last week, where I think you had the P5 finish in Bathurst. So what do you think next week is gonna be with the last race of the season?
I think the finish last time was just because I kept it safe and so many people crashed out. And I could have had a better race today if more people crashed out. I don't know that I'll ever have like the pace for a top 5, but if the track is hard enough for everybody else, then I think I stand.
So you're probably gonna like that next week is gonna be a 120 minutes endurance race then.
I'm very excited about that. Yep.
Yeah. Also at Spa, so very iconic track. Should be fun.
And Echo should have a really good Mercedes setup for that. So, finger.
Well, been fun talking to you. I think we're gonna wrap up the broadcast. So thank you for coming in, Domi.
Thanks for having me, gentlemen.
Cool. So with that all being said, if anyone wants to join our league, you can find us on www.pcdc.link. Our YouTube is also in the bottom left. You can see our Twitter there as well. But going to our website is enough. You can find our Discord there. And then all that remains for us to say is goodbye to you. Walter?
See you guys.
Oh, thanks,
That was
Walter.
really fun. That was a really interesting race, and thanks for having me in the commentary booth.
Nice.